2017 first year Topps Chrome red out of 10. This card is serial numbered 10 out of 10. Today I'm talking to James, aka Mad City Collector, who's the owner of this card, and we're talking about what makes this card special, what makes the set special, other cards from this set, and you can decide for yourself, is this the number one Messi card you'd like to own? I think you're probably best known for the 2017 red chromes and the fact that you collect the entire set, and how many you've got on your Instagram is kind of full of them. I guess the pièce de résistance of your collection of 2017 Chrome Red is the Messi. So if you could kind of tell us why you collect them, what you love about it, and in particular what that Messi means to you, would be great.
I've been looking for a project to kind of focus my collecting. I think this was maybe early 2023, maybe even late 2022. I wasn't feeling fulfilled just buying random cards. And so as a project, I wanted something that would kind of keep me focused, that I really enjoyed. And that's when I kind of, there's been a lot of chatter on the 2017 Topps Chrome set in general, partially because it is a first Topps Chrome Champions League release, and also just aesthetically, like the colors and like the full flood like appearance, just they just stood out. When I looked at cards, I looked at pages. If I saw one of those, I always paused and I was like, oh, that looks really nice. And so when I was choosing a set to kind of collect it, it made so much sense on many levels to collect this set. In addition, like the checklist was just absolutely loaded with a bunch of players that like spanned kind of different eras. Like you got late playing career cards of players like Iniesta, and Suarez with Barcelona and everything like that, and Messi and Ronaldo. I thought it was the end of their era, but it was kind of in the middle. It ended up being the middle of their era. But and then you had some rookies like Mbappe. So it's like it really spanned kind of really like a lot of great players. Unfortunately, it was kind of the tail end of. It was after the Ferguson era, so the Manchester United team set wasn't the best, but as a Manchester United fan, but as a whole,
Bruno Fernandes is probably the biggest chase for United, I'd say.
Yeah, and then he's not even in their kit. I mean, Pogba was like he was such a brilliant player, but he just fell way short of his potential type of thing. But and Juan Mata was good for a while there, so I think United fans have a soft spot for him, but yeah, outside of that, it's Lukaku and Ashley Young, great like squad player, I guess you could say, and Anthony Martial, who's just like perpetually frustrating.
Oh yes,
completely frustrating for me as a fan. I remember his 1/1 Superfractor came up from the set, and I was like, I just can't buy this. Like it'd be cool to have a Superfractor, but I was like, I would just be disappointed every time I looked at the card because of his whole tenure.
He was supposed to win the Ballon d'Or when we signed him.
Yeah, and when he played, there were flashes where I was like, "Oh, this guy could be if he puts it together." But anyway, so I was like, the gold is going to be my chase. Like they're out of 50, I should be able to find them. They don't pop up that often, but I should be able to find them. But and so as I was doing that, there's a guy who I think his Instagram handle was SuperTrout27, and he was kind of this just mega collector in general. He had been a Mike Trout baseball super collector. He kind of got bored of that, and he decided he wanted to be a Kylian Mbappe super collector. So he ripped something like 20 or 30 cases of 2017 Topps Chrome, chasing Mbappe Superfractor and the red Chrome Refractor. But the thing is, he'd opened so many cases that he'd gotten so many reds that he just started like stockpiling all these reds, and while I was collecting all the golds, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. Those reds are cool. But I was like, I'll never, they're expensive. Like, I'm not going to compete against this guy who's just like ripping, like 20, 30 cases. Like that's a different level of economic kind of, commitment to this that I wasn't ready to do. But, and so I kind of stuck to my golds for a while, but I essentially got down to the end of my gold collecting after about a year and a half. And I was like, let me start picking up reds when they pop up. And so I started picking up 1, 2, 3 here or there. And then, but like I said, this like super collector, he kind of gets bored of what he's doing. And so he essentially was like, I'm bored of soccer card collecting. And he just sold all of his red chromes, like more than 50 of them within like a 2 or 3 month span over like 3 or 4 auctions. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I just have to buy as many of these as I can like, kind of comfortably afford, because because once a lot of these are sold, I may never see another one again for.
No, you don't see them often.
And you don't see them often now, like after kind of all this has slowed down, you don't see many of them now. So I think at that time, I think I bought like 38 of the 50 some that he put up, and it kind of really jump started my and I so I got her up to around in the 40s, 50s pretty quickly just because of those auctions. But then since then I've kind of been picking up 10, 15 a year, and in the last 6 months I've only found one new one, so it's definitely slowed down considerably. But getting back to the Messi, which is kind of the piece de resistance of, like you said, of this, is of all the players in the set, I know Mbappe, it's like his quote unquote rookie and things like that. But Messi was always the one I was like, this is like, if I'm going to stretch, if I'm going to like invest significant money in a player, this is someone who, like, if I buy this card, it's there's no way 5-10 years down the line that I will have, like I said, will have overpaid for it. In the moment, maybe it's somewhat strong, but I was, with the red and blue Barcelona kit, the Red Refractor with Messi in any of the Topps Chrome sets, really, in the Barcelona kit, it just
I mean, it doesn't get much better, does it?
Well, in some ways it's better, visually than the Super Fractor even. But I mean, obviously, I'd probably rather have the Super Fractor. But the really fun thing about this copy, it's a PSA 7, so people who are kind of the PSA snobs in terms of grades are like, oh, 7. I mean, that's awful. That's like, it might as well be, you might as well have like, just bent the card or something. But PSA 7 is pretty good. I mean, it's still a good quality thing. I think there was a little surface issue on the back of it. But the interesting thing about it for me that I was like, when the auction came, it was a golden auction. When it came up, was that it is the 10 out of 10 jersey numbered copy. And I was like, like I said, Super Fractor, you're probably always going to take that just because Super Fractors kind of have such a cachet. But because I collect the red set, the jersey number card from the set that I'm collecting, there's almost no card in existence that was like better for me than that specific card. And so
it's in theory a wonderful,
right. And so it's kind of that, it takes a little more collector kind of nuance to appreciate kind of that aspect of it, kind of the jersey number. It's not, people talk about it. There's certain collectors. I think there's a I guess a Chinese collector who lives in Germany, Spinatron, who talks about jersey numbers being really special to him, and why, it's like, like within this set of serial numbered cards, there's one card in that serial number that is the most important, and that is the jersey number. And so it was completely irrelevant to me that it was a PSA 7. I wouldn't trade the PSA 7 jersey number for a PSA 10 personally, even straight up. And so it was kind of, if I was gonna, it's easily multiple folds the most I've ever paid for a soccer card, but I think even in the last 6 months, the way the Messi market's gone, it was also a good investment, even though I didn't buy it for that purpose.
How long ago did you buy it?
I bought it, I think it was like October of 2024. So it was kind of, it was during that somewhat down period in the market. So it was kind of good timing. And
so how much did you pay for that?
It was 40,000. So it was
40,000.
Yeah.
But to be honest, when you look at what's happened to the Messi market since,
it's probably
doubled.
It's
tripled,
at least doubled. Yeah, I would comfortably say it's probably in the 6 figures if I sold it now. I've had a few high-end collectors kind of inquire about it. They haven't thrown any numbers out, but I've through the grapevine, I've heard what a couple of collectors have paid for some of these, some of the cards, and it's north of 6 figures.
Because apart from his rookies, in his Barcelona kit, it's potentially the second most important or the second best Messi card in a Barcelona kit that's out there.
Yeah, yeah,
I would say.
yeah, and I look at it through the lens. Like I've mentioned before, but I kind of like look through modern soccer through the lens of late 90s basketball stuff. And so, Michael Jordan's most iconic card is his 1986 Fleer, very valuable. But I think what the real heavy collectors go for are his late 90s cards that are serial numbered, whether it's, there's the 1997 PMG like greens that are out of 10 and the reds out of 90. And then there's, he has I think in his 1997 he's got 7 one-of-ones from that year. There's a collector, Chris McGill, who's been going heavy into kind of talking about Michael Jordan collecting from that era, and he's like broken down all the one-of-ones and things like that. But there's been 2 recent interesting sales, and so Michael Jordan is like the closest I think of as kind of comparing Messi to as like a cultural figure as far as the card collecting space. And so like one of the 90 out of 90 red PMGs recently sold for something like, I think it was a PSA 5, sold for something like $600,000. And one of his one-of-ones from 97 just sold for, I think, like $2 million. And, even his PSA 10 rookie, like 86 Fleer, I think only goes for, or I think goes in like this, maybe like $200,000 or $400,000 range, something like that. And so I guess there's 300 copies of that, but just to give you an idea, it's like, even though a rookie should theoretically be the most, so, but I guess the only difference with, his 71 bis 2004, which I think is the other card you were alluding to as being his important Barcelona kit.
Yeah.
I think he's only got 20 PSA 10 graded copies of that. So that gives it an extra level of kind of at least the condition rarity. But like you said, I don't own that card. I own one of his Este stickers, and like I remember when I was looking, I was like, "Oh, stickers are more culturally relevant in soccer or football collecting through the era." So I was like, "Oh, I kind of want to get the sticker," and I like the Este sticker just visually too, to be honest. But yeah, as far as his Barcelona stuff, I mean, he's got the 2016 Select is in his Barcelona kit. The 2017 Select is also his Barcelona kit. Rodman PC, I think, notable Messi collector. He's got the black Select that that's like my Rooney essentially, and that's a really cool one. But me personally, I guess I kind of settled on the 2017 Chrome is kind of what I think is my favorite of his Barcelona cards personally.
If you want to see more cards like this alongside thousands of other sports cards and sports memorabilia, and there's no better place than the Intercity Sports Paradiso at the Amex Stadium in Brighton on Saturday the 30th of May. Searching for Soccer Fans can get 25% off their ticket price. Just go to the description where you'll get a special discount code. The link's in there as well to the Intercity website where you'll be able to book your tickets. I'll be there as I'm running the vintage and pre-modern floor, so hopefully I'll get to meet you on the day. I find we talk about the design and how cool they look. I find it quite weird that Topps haven't continued that design in subsequent Chrome issues.
Or something similar, yeah.
Or something similar. Like even the next year looks very different, and you haven't got that kind of, like you said, a PMG style look to them, and they are so cool looking, and it's the first Chrome, and you'd think somebody from Topps would take note of their popularity and say, why did we do this design again?
or something, somewhat close to. Yeah, it is. That was always been weird to me. It's like by far, it's great as a collector standpoint, saying like the first set is the most visually appealing set, and it creates this like storm of popularity for it. And 2014 Prism. The problem with that is it's not. For me, it's not the best looking Prism set, so it's like it holds it back slightly, but it's got such cult, relevance in terms of historically for modern collecting that it's not held back much by that. But yeah, it's just, and for an England, Englishman, like I
Harry
brought the
Kane.
Harry Kane up here
Yeah,
just because like even though it's not Harry Kane's rookie, it's like that's a pretty awesome like first, with Tottenham during a
yeah,
real good spell that Tottenham had, where you
yeah.
thought maybe they would.
Probably worth more than his rookie. That
Right.
is.
Yeah, probably. It's like in that time period where you thought they were going to stop being so Spursy and actually maybe win something. But yeah, ultimately not to be. But yeah, it's just so even for a player like Harry Kane, who's obviously just even since that moment has just had an unbelievable career, and it'll be fun to see if England can do much in the World Cup this year. I like their
Yeah.
squad,
Oh,
but
if
they're notoriously underachievers. So
it's not the first time we've had a good squad,
I know.
but yeah, if Harry Kane lifts the World Cup for us this summer, like I think, I mean, I don't collect a lot of modern. I do like buying some Harry Kane, and in terms of players that could explode based on the World Cup, I think Harry Kane is among a handful of players that could see significant rises if he lifts the World Cup for England. He's already got a golden boot in 2018. What more can he do if he lifts the World Cup? He doesn't even need to have a good tournament, really. If he got that on his CV, and then that could lead to him, say, Bayern win the Champions League this year, could lead to him winning the Ballon d'Or this year, and then what? He's the greatest ever English goal scorer.
Right. And yeah. And people look back at the rest of his career and they look at his goal record and they're just like, oh, we were underrating him this whole time. I mean, I think people are already kind of coming to that conclusion, to be honest. But having all the accolades on top of it would just kind of push things over the edge in terms of, I think, collector interest.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's underrated or underappreciated as it is, but yeah, that could see him go to another level. But he's one of so many legends in that set. Like Modric is one I love to buy from that set. Another great looking card. And I think that era of player, a lot of their rookies aren't as kind of sought after. So you've got, I mean, Modric has that strange one where he's got a very, very rare rookie, or a couple of them from Croatia that are almost impossible to get your hands on. And then his kind of next best rookie is the 2008 Euro sticker, which costs £5, and you can find thousands of. So if you're wanting to collect a Modric, it's quite hard to get into his rookie market with any appreciation. So then looking at those type of sets in 2017 Chrome being a great one is where you can really start to get your hands on some really nice stuff of his. And there's so many legends that are similar from that era within that set. So it's an amazing looking set. First Chrome, brilliant look, it's full of legends. We talked about the Messi and why that is so important, but yeah, I mean, 2017 Chrome is kind of, it's timeless. It's a timeless set.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I think more and more collectors who are arriving into the space like more every year, like eventually come to that same conclusion about how amazing the set is. And well, even I had a Roma collector the other day who just unsolicited started trying to negotiate with me for the Daniel De Rossi red from the set. And I was like, yeah, I guess if you're a Roma fan, if you're an Italian fan, I mean, Daniel De Rossi is like pretty, it's just like it's just almost random that he's just such a notable player. Like at the very end of his career, just happened to make it into the set. And it was,
he's a legend at Roma.
Yeah.
Daniel De Rossi.
And so,
the legend.
Yeah, this Roma fan, he was getting crazy. I'm like, it's not for sale. And he's like, just kept offering me money. And I was like, it's not for sale. I was like, I don't care how much you offer me. It's not for sale. But I was like, I get people realize that, yeah, the cards from this set, like, they're some of the best cards for these players who, in existence, like, even though they're not rookies. So it's, I think people do eventually come to that conclusion once they kind of survey the whole landscape. And so, that was kind of what I realized, 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, this like it has so many things going for it, so many brilliant players that I just love and appreciated, even if they're not on my favorite team. Just as a history of the sport, it just tells such a great story for card collecting and of the players. So
you've got the Messi, you're missing the Ronaldo and Mbappe, which are the two big ones. Who else are you missing?
I have my list somewhere. I have 81 of the 99, and I really do have the list in my notes on my phones. So yeah, so it's I'm not down at the very end, but yeah, it's just like Dembele, Jonas, Tomas Voslik, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Like Salah, Kagwa, so Firmino, so some random players, Falcao.
I've got Kagawa Gold. If you were listening. I haven't got the red. I've got the Kagawa Gold.
Yeah, I've
seen one snip a while ago.
Yeah, I've seen one collector who has the red, and he's not selling it. But yeah, I do have the Kagawa Gold. But yeah, he as one of the only Japanese players from the set, he's actually pretty popular. I think so. I think there must be some collectors who kind of have it locked away.
I'd imagine.
But yeah, I mean, as far as the ones I've left, so obviously Mbappe and Ronaldo are obviously the obvious big ones, but Salah and Lewandowski are the other kind of real notable players that
you're right,
that will sell for significant money. And Firmino, to be honest, I've had 2 or 3 opportunities to buy his red, and I thought I put in bids that couldn't be beaten all 3 times, and I've lost like all 3 times. So it's just a few crazy Liverpool collectors out there.
Liverpool fans love Firmino.
Every time I was like, "Are you kidding me? Is this like, what are you guys doing?" Like I thought I was the crazy one, but so I think getting him will probably end up being expensive, even though he's not he's culturally for Liverpool fans important, but generally speaking, not one of the absolute top players ever.
Well, if anyone's listening and has got any of those players in Reds, get in touch with James. But yeah, best of luck with completing it.
Yeah, it'll be labor of love.
Yes, yeah. Thanks very much to James. It's a fantastic chat. You can see more of James. You follow him, Mad City Collector, on Instagram and YouTube, and his podcast, The Soccer Card Collective. So follow the show, and I'll see you next time, where we'll be talking about another legendary football card.